Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to today's session on modernizing your application stack. My name is Bennett Ford, and I work at Appian on a team that serves a lot of our energy and utilities customers. And it's an honor today to introduce the team from Alabama Power. It's really an honor because when I think about the typical maturation process of organizations modernizing applications, they typically don't reach the level of disrupting an industry, how things are done, until much later in their cycles. But the team, Wade Mundy and Adam McGee from Alabama Power, have really fast-tracked that by offering digital financing to millions of customers across the state of Alabama and enabling their allies in the field. So it's really a pleasure to share with you both how their project began and how they've adapted with a flexible platform like Appian to be able to encounter a lot of issues around compliance and auditability by enabling Docusign integration and a few other things. So I'll let them take it over from here, but I would encourage you to be thinking about your business, whatever that is, and how you can solve big problems with both a flexible and a powerful platform like Appian. So without further ado, Wade Mundy and Adam McGee from Alabama Power.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wade Mundy.
Hey, Adam McGee.
With me today.
Yep.
We got the after lunch crowd, so we're going to have to bring it, I guess, a little bit. So y'all get ready for some really fun 20-so minutes of a presentation here. But I'm going to talk a little bit first. There's our great bio shots, in case y'all didn't hear that. But first, we'll talk a little bit about Alabama Power Company. Alabama Power Company is a part of Southern Company. We are one of the largest 2-3 energy utilities in the United States. As a combined, we have over 9 million customers among Southern Company. 1.5 million of those customers are in Alabama area. We service energy in 14 different states, whether that's Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi Power, or we also service gas in Georgia, Chicago, Chattanooga, and then have gas facilities in other areas of the United States. So just a little bit of overview of who our larger sort of company is. Alabama Power, ultimately, what we're here to do is, serve our customers with safe, reliable, and affordable electricity. It's pretty easy, and that's what we try to deliver. We've been doing that for over 120 years now. And so how did we come about to be a partner of Appian? I mean, we're an electric utility company. We finance home improvement projects throughout the state of Alabama and have been doing that for about 30 years now. And you can just imagine the amount of time and effort and paperwork that is involved with doing financing. For anyone out there that's in banking industries like that, it's a lot. And so, we used to have paper stacks and file cabinets full of financing applications, and basically today, we're just running on this. And customers used to have to come into our offices. They had to fill out applications. We would go 3 or 4 days doing a project, and the customer would come back and fill out their loan financing paperwork. And due to Appian, we eliminated all that. So what happened in 2019, we worked with Appian and we built Smart Financing, and we'll talk a little bit about where that went. So today we have over 1,000 home improvement project dealers that are on the Appian network of Smart Financing with us. And they all basically have the app that we built on their digital devices, and they are able to do the financing in the customer's house for us. And so with that, our loan approval process was cut down to 3 seconds. Our average day to pay the dealer is down to 3 days. So that's from the day the customer starts an application, the dealer finishes their home improvement project. A lot of those are HVAC, insulation types project in the home, to the time we actually turn around, complete the financing agreement, and then pay the customer. So that's really quick. And then we expanded our growth has been tremendous. From the time we went from a very paper-based, slow process to where we are today. In the last 3 years, we have overall grown our net income by 380%. So that's a really, just from a profitability metrics, that tells you why is it important to develop this. And to me, it's all about the convenience factor. Customers, you see it every day. They want to do stuff with their phones. They want to order their groceries, whatever it is. And that's what we're giving them the capability to do, and just to move it along. What happened is, as Bennett talked about, we had a change last year in 2021 when we had initially rolled out our loan origination platform. We talked to a lot of our dealers, the 1,000 dealers we have on our platform, and they were really struggling with having to go out to a customer's house potentially twice, because it's really two steps. It's once to get the application filled, and then twice to go out and get the signature. And not all of them were as digitally savvy in 2019. You would think everybody was, but in the state of Alabama, not all of our 1,000 dealers were as digitally savvy as we would like. So it was a little bit of a process, and we developed this portion in our loan process system where they could sign on behalf of a customer. We asked that they get customer approval and all of that, but dealers were coming in. It was really more for a small process. We didn't expect it to become mainstream. Well, what we found out in 2020 was 40% of our loans were being signed on behalf of customers. And so then we sort of hit the pause button, like, wait, that's not what we intended. That's not good from us from a compliance or for a loan paperwork decision. So at that point, that's when we really came up with the idea and working with Appian of implementing Docusign. And so Adam's going to go through y'all with what was the technical integration of Docusign, because he's the wizard and makes it all happen, and we're not sure how. But he works with Appian, and it all works out for us at the end. So Adam, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So let's talk about the boring technical details of integrating with Docusign. So to get started with your Docusign integration, you first have to have an account with Docusign, and you can do that kind of two different ways. You can go yourself, go to the developer portal on the Docusign site and sign up yourself to get started there. Or like our company already had an existing contract with Docusign, so we got set up with that way. But you go in there and you have to set up an application on the Docusign site. This is where you get your application ID, your integration ID, the things you're going to go plug in on the Appian side in order to connect. Once you get your app set up, you go in and you set up your Docusign Connect, and this is where you get your API callbacks. And what those are for is like, for example, a customer completes a document. You don't want to wait to know about that. You get a callback that comes back into the Appian side and says, hey, this customer did something. And so then you get that data and you can process it. That's also where you set up the events, like the one I just listed, the document completed events. Documents can get voided, updated, all kinds of things. You have to be able to handle all of those. So also where you get your authentication information. And Docusign has a lot of useful logs of everything. They also list out the failures, so if for some reason your environment wasn't there, whenever they tried to send a callback, it'll get logged there, and it's really easy to go click it, have it resent, and process it that way. And the logs are super helpful when you're doing development, because if you're like me, you screw up a lot doing the development process, and you can just go in there, re-click, and send all those documents to you again as you do it. So we've set up our account on the Docusign side, so what's next? Well, come over to the Appian side, and they already have a connected system for you. It's already pre-built in on the Appian side. You click your Docusign app, you put in all the information that we got from the Docusign side, and you click the little authorize button down at the bottom, and if you've done it right, you get the little green banner on the screen. And anybody that's done Appian, the stuff, they know you get the green banner, you're like, oh, I did something right. How about that? So that happens, then what can you do? You go create your integration. So you plug in that connected system you just used, and there you can see it on the screen. You've got all the pre-built Appian integrations that you can call. And so from our point of view, obviously create and send envelope, which is kind of what it sounds like. That's where you make your document, fill in your information, you send it off to someone. Update envelope, that gets used a good bit. Like if you have to void a document, that happens a good bit, where Wade was kind of talking about the dealers being able to get the customer to sign on the screen. Sometimes they're going to do that, or they've chosen the Docusign process. Well, they can go back and say, no, I'm going to get this customer to sign on the screen. Obviously, you can't just leave that Docusign document out there living. You have to void it. The customer moves on, signs on the screen. And the other main one we use is the download the documents. So the customer does sign, whatever, and that comes back, and we download it and save it with the customer file. Whenever you're creating your Docusign integration, kind of the trickier, the harder part is you have to fill in JSON code for actually setting up that document that you're sending. So on our integration, we already had existing documents. We were already processing those, creating those on our side. So we wanted to keep that flow the same. We didn't want to be managing documents in two different places. So we would take our document we have now, set it up with the code here, like you see, and you set up who it's going to. Use all your Appian rule inputs for your email address, whatever subject line you want to put in there, things like that. And this is also where you set up your signature fields. And because we had an existing document, we use keys on the page to let you know. Like you could have a key called buyer signature, and then the Appian would send that in the JSON code, and the Docusign side will know where to insert that, that signature field. We do the same thing for names, do the same thing for dates, and there's even some customer input fields where we send that over in this setup, and it knows how to, or where to put that in the document. So the other part is you've sent documents. Well, you want to get them back now. And I was talking about we were using the callback API from the Docusign side to do that. And so you have to set up a service account if you want that data to come back in. If you're being mean to yourself, I guess you could set up polling where you went and asked Docusign, every 10 minutes, like, did they finish that? Did they finish that? But that sounds terrible. Why would you do that? So we use a service account, and all those messages come in to one process model. And right now we're processing 3 different types of documents. So they come in, branch off, and then get processed to do whatever important thing it is that document does. And the key part is the data comes back, and then you make a decision off of did they complete it, blah blah blah, and then you go actually download that document and save it with the customer file so that we have it there inside of our system. So with programming, there's always these edge cases that you have to handle. They always sneak up on you, and you find them later. So a lot of them I was going to mention here. You send a customer document, and in the Docusign side, they can just reject it and say, I don't want to do this. So you have to handle that, and maybe something happens, they don't get around to completing it, they'll expire at some point. You set that up yourself, but they do expire, so you have to be able to handle that. I kind of talked about the void use case earlier. And that can happen. The void can happen actually from inside the Docusign side if you had to go in there and void the document. And sometimes you have to update email addresses. So just all kind of edge cases that you have to handle on the Docusign side. So we've done this. We have a new way of doing things. Instead of signing on behalf of the customer or even just signing there on the tablet, we have a new button called Send via Docusign. So we click that, and you see there in the middle, we have a branded email that goes out to the customer, has our logo, all the stuff we set up inside of our integration to send. And the customer can click on Review Document, and then you get the normal Docusign user interface that if you've used Docusign, you know what it looks like, but it still has our color, our branding, and you can see examples here of a customer, the signature field, the date field. And there's even a box here where customers have to fill in certain information about their loan, and they can do it there. We get that call back, and we can go pull that data out of the document and save it in our database along with having the copy of the document. So Wade, you want to talk about what our key business outcomes were?
Yeah, so where did all the cool techie stuff finally get us? And really what that is, that 40% of documents that we're not getting as secure or as compliance ready of a signature from the customer on, we took that 40% down to 0. I may not have said it earlier, we do about 15,000 loans a year. So obviously, we can scale up. Prior to Docusign, prior to Appian, we were doing somewhere around 4,000 loans a year, and we've scaled up to now 15 and feel like we can continue to scale that. But what does this integration get us is now all of those loans are being signed by the customer. And it gives the flexibility back. So it's that convenience factor. Those customers can sign those loans at their home, on their electronic device, on a computer, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, all of our loan packages are coming back with customer signatures, and they're reading those terms and conditions that are important to us from a compliance aspect. And that just really helped to dramatically improve not only the customer experience, they now have 2Pass. If they're there with the dealer, they can sign directly on the iPad, scroll all the way through. We do make them scroll all the way through the terms and conditions to get to the signature, or they can go and sign those loan papers through the Docusign platform. But all of that is great because one of the things Docusign that Adam talked about, we get that package. It comes back into Appian. So we're able to store all those documents, retrieve those documents, Appian, and see them. And then I guess the next big story is where are we going next with this?
That's true.
And so, I don't know, was it the unveiling today? I think we may have gotten a little pre-sight into it, but we're looking forward to portals next. So what portals is really going to open for us is right now the only way we're able to take a loan application is through one of those 1,000 dealers that has the Appian application downloaded to their device. So ultimately what we'll be able to do is we do have a website where you can gather information about our program, but currently you can't do an application. So we're going to take that front end of the process, load it up into portals, and look forward to a customer being in the privacy of their own home to do an application for financing. And then, no one wants to think about the fact, but yes, we still do. It's not a high rate for us, but unfortunately some customers don't meet our financing standards. So it's not something you want to have to do in front of a dealer or someone like that you may not know. So portals is going to allow us to run them through that financing engine that we already have pre-built. We're going to take the application, run it through the engine. Hopefully it's as seamless as everything else has been with Appian. We'll give them a answer back and then be able to pick their dealer and basically have a code that the dealer will enter and it will finish the process there. So that's our next steps with Appian is to jump on the portal bandwagon.
Yeah, we're hoping that we can use the existing security and reliability that we have now, in relation to SOC compliance and all that kind of stuff, without having to build a custom front end, on one of our servers that may not have that security built in order to, like you said, push that data into our existing decision engine without writing something new and custom.
Hopefully it's just another customer journey that very simply just feeds into the rest of that journey for us. So with that said, for the after lunch presentation, that was it for the two of us. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, any questions? I'll come down with the mic.
I don't even know why you came up with the mic.
The game show host. How are you?
Thank you. Great presentation. One question I was trying to understand is, what were the drivers? Why did you pick up this particular use case? You did any analysis or any study to say that this particular situation is what you wanted to solve, or this just popped up as one of the solutions to solve, one of the problems to understand and solve?
All right, so help me with the question. It's just, what was the use case to try to?
Why this particular use case? Why not something else?
Why not what?
Why not something else? Why only this particular use case?
I don't know why not something else besides. And I think at some point, we already had Docusign. I mean, we were very early as a company to be using Docusign. We're starting to roll that out more. But I really think it was just the simplicity that it was one of the tools you could just almost pipe in. And we had to come up with a way to start. We were faced with the challenge of we were going to take out 40% of our loans. And obviously those were revenue generating loans for us. Or we had to come up with another way for our partners or our dealers to be doing their business. And some of these guys are traveling 40, 50 miles, in a rural state of Alabama, it's very, we had dealers in very urban areas. It was very easy for them to do this. They had the technology. One truck and an HVAC tech was very different companies to be dealing with for us. So that's where Docusign worked out. And I mean, the customer integration today of Docusign, people feel comfortable with it. I think they feel comfortable with us because we're there servicing their electric utility for them. So that's really why I think the use case came out.
Yeah, it decreased risk, it helped auditability, and ultimately it helps out our dealers because it actually takes a good bit of load off of them as far as getting paperwork signed.
Yeah.
Does it connect to your ERP, or is it integrated with any other platforms for Alabama Power? And what is your ERP, if so?
Oh yeah, so you're going to ask the easy question about integration into other platforms? Yeah, thanks. That's where you know, the low code and all that stuff just goes right out the window when you start talking about. We have no legacy systems, by the way, so our integration was very simple. It is a great question because I would like to talk about it. So we did do this in the 2019 rollout. So we are integrated today with our mainframe CIS system. We've had a customer system. So we have one mainframe system supposedly left in Southern Company, and that's it. But all 9+ million customer information's in one mainframe. And so yes, we integrate with that. So we pull in data about what their payment history has been with our companies, as well as we integrate outside to Equifax. So that's where we're getting customer files on their past credit history. And then we also integrate with our ERP system. So that's how we're paying the dealers. So all 1,000 dealers are set up, you know, as payable W-9 contractors, and then the invoices are auto-generated in Appian, and then flow through our ERP system, and that's how they're basically paid within 24 hours of completing the project. Obviously, if they're on ACH and all that. So yeah, we have several different integrations across our company.
What's your ERP?
So,
Isn't that like customer private? Kidding. It's Oracle.
yeah, totally Oracle.
It's Oracle. We only spent the last 4 years switching to the Oracle ERP system, and we just switched we officially switched like a month ago. We probably won't make the switch for like another year, but we now are on the Oracle ERP system. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right.
There we go.
Hey, another question here.
You want to take one?
You got it.
Well, this is user-based. Like, not saying anything about Alabama, but are you guys tracking if they're using more mobile versus like the desktop version? Are people using the mobile application?
Yeah, so that's another great question. Yes, you don't have to say anything about Alabama, but just for the record, War Eagle, in case anyone has any conversations about it. You're not allowed to come to the state if you don't choose one or the other, but yeah, so like you said, a lot of our dealers, and that was why the signed on behalf of the customer sort of came out, is, they are just one guy in a truck, and they have an admin back at the office, and they were doing applications over the phone. They'd pick up the phone and be like, hey, admin at the office, can you get the customer's information? They're pulling it up, the Appian app on a computer and entering it. And then, we didn't really have a way for them to print the paperwork out, take it and sign it, and then rescan it back in. We didn't want to deal with that. So that was one of the use cases that helped. As far as technology integration in Alabama, yeah, we got spots across our state that don't even have cell phone coverage that a lot of customers are still in. We as a company are a big proponent of helping create, broadband across our state. We think it's very important that everybody in the state of Alabama has access to broadband. So we're trying to help that process along as an electric utility. But, so it's different for each person. But yeah, I think it's coming along too. A lot of these HVAC guys, the new units, they literally plug into them, and that's how they get the error codes and things like that to find out what's wrong with them. So, not insulation or roofs, but the digital components that are on the house that are these home improvement projects, technology is really advancing fast because they got to have it to do their job. So that's helping out as well. So, thank you. Thanks, great question.
All right, I think we got one more.
Yep. They got the clock up here blinking at us, so.
What was your process like to convert a paper document to an e-sign document?
You mean to get a document into the Docusign process?
Yes.
So I kind of mentioned it earlier, but the customers were already signing on the device, and we were generating a document from that. So we have a Word template that is our documents, and then they get converted to PDFs after we fill in certain information on the Appian side. And so we continue to do that. So we only had one location for a document repository, and then we create that PDF, maybe with a few blank fields, and then use the Docusign API to put those labels, for the name and signature fields and the dates. And we send that off to Docusign, and then it does its process. Then that document comes back to us, and then we save it just like we did our previous documents.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out great. I mean, like you saw, we're able to put all the logos on it, make it a really nice user experience. And like Adam talked about, our concern was how do we deal with all these, what do you call them, the side cases?
Edge cases.
The edge cases, but most all of that was already out there for us to figure out what do you do with a return package, or what do you do with a void package, or what do you do with a customer that just, the first time they got the email, they didn't open it, and how often are we resending the emails to the customers, and when are we flagging it back to our teams to deal with it? And all of those different things were just in there for you to easily sort of set up. So it was a very nice, smooth integration.
Yep. All righty, thank y'all.
With that, we're right on time. Thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks.